Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. 9 Haitians captured in Portland following illegal entry Sunday night. Opposition says proposed violence ministry not needed. And later in sports, ISA Champions Cup finalists to be known today. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shane Masters and here are the details. At least 9 Haitian nationals have been captured by the Portland police since their arrival on the island Sunday night. According to police reports, the Haitians entered the country via boat. It's still unclear how many persons were on the vessel, which landed in Long Bay, Portland. It's believed upon arrival the refugees went into hiding. Residents in the area alerted the police after discovering the abandoned boat. 9 of them were intercepted on Monday as they attempted to flee in a taxi. The Area 3 Police Division is lauding the experience and knowledge shared by retirees that have assisted in the recapturing of 4 escapees from the Black River lockup. The disclosure was made at an Area 3 retirement function for retired officers of the Jamaica Constabulary Force in Manchester recently. Shamala Pullen reports.
In June of this year, 8 high-risk inmates escaped from the Black River lockup in St. Elizabeth. It's believed that they cut through the ventilation grill in the cell. But since then, only 4 of the prisoners were recaptured. Acting Assistant Commissioner Police in charge of Area 3, Glenford Miller, says this was because of the assistance of some retirees in the JCF.
When the prisoners escaped in St. Elizabeth, we had several conversations. And it was a turner who let me know that there was an operations order, red basket 1. And that also, I could have actually touched base with Mr. Mento, and they would have dig up the archive. Sir Turner, you have sent something to me, and I can tell you, it's what you sent to me that officer that I did 100 years ago.
4 of the escapees are still on the run.
And it means we need to talk a little more. We're cleaning up the parish of St. Elizabeth. I don't know how long the commissioner will have me there, but for the short time that I'm going to be there, we're going to do all our best to ensure that all those who are responsible for offenses are brought before our justice system. And may I just say, St. Elizabeth is not a parish that those who are committing serious crimes and want a place to hide out don't come to St. Elizabeth.
In the meantime, the police are reporting success in other areas.
St. Elizabeth has the highest number of recovery of firearms in Area 3. That's not debatable. St. Elizabeth has the lowest murder rate. Are we lower than Manchester? That is also true.
Shamala Pullen, TVJ News.
The St. Andrew police are investigating the circumstances surrounding the murder of an ex-policeman this morning. He has been identified as 40-year-old Damien Coley, a security manager at a private security company. Information reaching our news center is that sometime around 2 a.m., a lone gunman exited a Toyota Axia motor car in the parking lot at Marketplace on Constant Spring Road. It's understood that Mr. Coley was exiting his vehicle when he was approached by the gunman, who shot him several times. Another man, who is a security guard, was shot and injured. The police theorized that the attack was in reprisal for an incident captured in this video at a nightclub days prior. They believe the ex-cop was targeted. Investigations are ongoing. Not needed. That's the position of the opposition in relation to the proposal by Prime Minister Andrew Holness for a new government ministry which focuses on violence and related issues. Speaking at the Jamaica Labour Party's annual conference on Sunday, the Prime Minister announced that the government is moving ahead with plans to develop the new ministry. He indicated that the results of a study from the Commission for Violence Prevention, expected by the end of the year, will guide the process. But the opposition is blasting the move, saying that the decision by the government is impractical. Opposition spokesman on national security Peter Bunting says there already exists a blueprint at the National Security Ministry with initiatives such as Unite for Change and the Community Renewal Program, which aim to address violence.
And it sets out a coordinating mechanism in the cabinet. It was called the Public Order Committee. We had started meeting where, as Minister of National Security, I chaired this committee of cabinet. It had the Minister of Education, the Minister of Youth, the Minister of Justice, Health, Local Government, Labour and Social Security. Because we realized these 7 ministries had significant elements of programs that would be very helpful for violence prevention. And if the Prime Minister put the Deputy Prime Minister with his seniority in the government to chair that, I think it can be an effective coordinating mechanism.
Social justice advocate Horace Levy says focus should be on implementing recommendations from previous studies that outlined ways to address the level of violence in the country.
There's one in particular by Herbert Gale of the Peace Management Initiative, which most people recognize as having been the best way to tackle, or certainly the most successful, even though in small areas, to tackle the violence and the murder. And there's been this excellent study by Professor Herbert Gale on this thing, and it's available, and it's knowledgeable, and there are other people who have written as well, and now it's a new study, and he's waiting on that. Who is doing this study? So I'm rather skeptical, I must admit, about this new ministry when there should be a policy to use what's already worked, and he's ignoring it for the longest while.
Both men were speaking on Beyond the Headlines on Monday. There are more reactions this afternoon to the government's announcement of an increase in the duty-free allowance. Some consumers are welcoming the move, but others are raising concerns. More details in this report.
There are still mixed views from local businesses and other members of the public over the duty-free threshold movement announced by the government on Sunday. Financial analyst Dennis Strong says while there won't be a significant impact, it will at least ease the costs for some consumers.
For example, a person who is carrying something through the mail courier service might break it up, a package into 2 because of the limit. Will have to be paying a higher amount to the courier service. This will change.
Since the announcement, opposition leader Mark Golding has called on the government to consider raising the duty-free allowance for personal items further to $150. But one economic pundit disagrees.
But we have to recognize that the government also needs revenue. Yes? So I'm quite fine with them moving it to $100. Now, the cry from businesses who are likely to be impacted, again, without any solid numbers, I can't say precisely how affected they would be. But just on the surface of it, I don't see that there will be any significant change.
While wary of the move at this time due to the impending local government elections, Mr. Chung says it does not negate the relevance of the move.
I don't understand, why it is such a big concern, because people do these things. So I accept, what we need to pick out from it is it something that is going to be beneficial for people? And I think it will be beneficial for the country. It's just like when they're coming up to election, they start fixing roads. Hey, I'm happy. They should have elections every day.
Come April next year, the duty-free threshold for Jamaicans returning with goods bought abroad will move to $1,000, up from $500. For personal items being imported, the threshold has moved from $50 to $100. Kirk Wright, TVJ News.
And it's time for a break here on the Midday News. Stay with us, more stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. Scores of taxi operators plying the Bohemia, Cascade, White Sands and Fraser routes in St. Ann blocked a section of the Battersea Main Roadway this morning, protesting what they say is the deplorable condition of the roadway. They say for 15 years they have been suffering and they want the issue addressed now.
Until we catch back on better part of the road, we make them come back in.
We are in favor of this roadblock. Reason being, we have a sitting councillor for over 25 years and he is not in dialogue with the MP from my perspective. He says that we should speak our truth, and the truth is we need a road.
Now, Councillor for the Boroughbridge Division, Winston Brown, admitted that the road comes under the St. Anne Municipal Corporation. He said a section of the road was rehabilitated some time ago. However, the funds to complete it were diverted to fix a deadly breakaway along a section of that same roadway. Mr. Brown lamented, however, that the funds allocated is not enough to complete rehabilitation.
To repair the road. But most of the road now, it's going to the MPs. Even there's a program in the equalization funds that deducted from the Procal revenue funds that administration should spend through the councillors, and is the member of parliament now it has been spending through.
Now, earlier this year, a $40 billion road program was announced. Mr. Brown says he has recommended that road to be fixed, and so he awaits the funds that will be allocated to the member of parliament. And it's now time for the Business Minute. Cybersecurity expert and director at G5 Cybersecurity, Gavin Dennis, says it is unlikely that most local businesses will meet the December 1 compliance deadline under the data protection regulations. Mr. Dennis said based on what he's seen so far, mainly medium and large enterprises are gearing up for compliance. Most of Jamaica's businesses are considered micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, MSMEs. Now, a 2-year transition period for data controllers to take all necessary measures to ensure full compliance with the Act began on December 1, 2021. The Act, which was passed in June 2020, seeks to encourage integrity and accountability for data controllers and acts to protect the personal data and sensitive personal data of citizens. Further afield, fashion company Shein has filed to go public in the United States. Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, and Morgan Stanley have been hired as lead underwriters on the initial public offering IPO, and Singapore-based Shein could launch its new share sale sometime in 2024. The sources say Shein has not determined the size of a deal or the valuation at IPO. However, Bloomberg reported earlier this month it targeted up to $90 billion in the float. And that's it for the Business Minute. Time now for the top regional and international stories.
In the region, an American lobby group is protesting against plans to increase the supply of liquefied natural gas LNG to Barbados. An application was made to increase the volume of LNG being exported into the island, but advocacy organization Public Citizen is arguing that increasing the sale of LNG, which is re-exported from Puerto Rico, would negatively affect that country's natural gas supplies. On the international scene, the wife of Ukraine spy chief Kirilo Budanov has been poisoned with heavy metals. Mariana Budanov was hospitalized after feeling unwell for a prolonged period. Officials have not yet confirmed if the incident was deliberate. And 41 construction workers in India have been rescued after being trapped in a collapsed tunnel in the Himalayas for over 2 weeks. Rescue efforts got underway this morning after a tunnel they were working on gave way on November 12, blocking their only exit with more than 200 feet of broken rock, concrete, and twisted metal. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Ramarda Lyons.
And we head to a quick break. When we come back, Jordan Ford will have your midday sports report.